What's up, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Ketchup, joined by ZSX. This is Week 8, Stage 4, Quake Pro League, and our next matchup is going to be cha1n versus nosfa. Always excited to watch these two players go head-to-head. They're very high-octane. They're very confident. cha1n has always, as of recently, always been kind of like one of those rising star players, I think, so it's always a pleasure to watch him. But two players that are exciting, and we'll see what happens when they go head-to-head.
Yeah, cha1n just continues to ascend. I think a lot of people, at least I know I did for a while, I think my back of my mind, like, is this going to stall? Like, is this just a temporary boost? But no, he's really gone on to solidify himself as being as good as he is. He's 9th in the leaderboard now. That doesn't sound super high, but when you consider that Cooler is 8th, it really puts into context of how good he is. You can see Tox at 11th, Base at 7. Considering how well Base has done, cha1n fully deserves all he has really progressed to this point, and is the standout performer for me outside of Rafa and NA.
And nosfa, unfortunately, definitely can't say the same about nosfa recently. We talked a lot, and we'll continue to talk about kind of his level of inconsistency, where he looked really good when the Pro League began. Almost like at this point, this time last year, actually, when we started to see nosfa play, and he just looked super strong, looked really good at QuakeCon, and then in Stage 1 was looking really strong too, and then kind of went on a bit of a decline for quite a while, where he wasn't able to hit those same strides he once was hitting. Whereas I almost think cha1n has had the opposite effect, where he wasn't looking incredible at the very beginning, and then he's now looking like, almost the best he's ever looked. So definitely two sides of that coin.
I think in many aspects, they share a lot of similar qualities. They're both incredibly gifted. I feel that definitely cha1n has found a much more rounded play style than nosfa. Not with nosfa, it's all or nothing quite a lot of the time. And having spoken to him and just watching him, it still feels like he's finding his feet a bit. The scene obviously has progressed a lot since QuakeCon on Stage 1, and he got left behind in that aspect. But he plays with a massive disadvantage in terms of ping. It's not beat around the bush there, and he's still living at 13th in the leaderboard. So as much as we often say we'd love to see more from nosfa, he always gives us a good show, and he's sitting mid-table with the best players in the world with a big disadvantage. So I always have to give credit where it's due, and I think he's done an amazing feat to get where he is.
Yeah, and I think a 2-1 could be a very, very safe bet here with these two players. If we're talking about cha1n, we really just, we've talked about him enough already, I think, at this point, just talking about his recent results. Now he's looking really good. I think he was always one of those players that I think was unsatisfied with a win if it wasn't a 3-0. I know that's one thing that's always kind of bothered him, I suppose, is that he wins, but I don't think he wins to the dominant fashion that he wants. But if you're a hungry player and you can beat these players, you're always going to try and build towards that 3-0 because you want to just absolutely burst your way up into the leaderboards. Mm-hmm. And cha1n has proven so many times that he's a player that's capable of doing that, but maybe there's an opportunity with nosfa today. If he loses a single map, he tends to be unsatisfied historically.
I personally think that cha1n is going to win this 3-0, particularly when it comes to the picks and bans. I think on every single map he's got a slight edge, and it definitely favors the way cha1n has to play. So starting out on Black Covenant, he's got the Ranger, whereas nosfa's got Galena, and nosfa loves to pick Galena, but you're a little bit stunted. Ranger can definitely outmaneuver you and take control of the map a lot more effectively than obviously Galena. Moving on to Vale, then we've got the Keel up against the Ison with Keel in the hands of cha1n. I really like Keel on that map. I think he's incredibly powerful, and the way that, again, cha1n plays, he can really strangle nosfa out of that map, and when you give Keel an immense stack, what can you really do as an Ison? And then finally on Molten, we have the Sorlag up against the Strogan Pika, both of which like to play fast tempo, but one of which has a much bigger stack. So it's going to be a tough ask for nosfa, even from the outset, looking at the picks and bans, in my opinion.
So prediction-wise, you've suggested maybe a 3-0 here for cha1n. I'd be inclined to agree with you. I just don't see nosfa being able to get the win. I think, if anything, the best chance there might be is maybe a 2-1, and that's mostly because cha1n he's just kind of been known to concede a map to people, and I think Never really satisfied with that. I've said it before because it's kind of important for cha1n. He's a player that is dominant in the Americas, and he's without question within that top 3 area for sure. But it's almost strange that the scoreboard doesn't reflect that more because of how often he's able to win against these kind of players. But as we now load in, we're warming up. Thanks for joining us so far. Remember, everyone, week 8 of Stage 4 Quake Pro League. We're reaching the home stretch now. Not many of these weeks left to go, and if cha1n can get 3-0 now, all the better for him. But by all means, nosfa looking to shut that one down and get a win of his own. We'll see what happens here.
cha1n delaying that heavy, but not knowing that the Mega was also delayed, meaning the items are relatively on the same time. nosfa, though, playing it slow, not having the rail, will realise that a Ranger definitely will have a rail at the start of the game.
Oh, opening rails. Neither player able to hit their mark just yet, though. Had the same idea. Now, as we can see, Mega is up. cha1n's in a much better situation to actually just back off and take it, which I think is why he's sticking around so much here, looking for these rails.
Oh.
Can afford to take one more if it's going to be worth the frag. Drops down, has the right call, but nosfa's ready. Ready and waiting. But, as I just pointed out, Mega's ready to go, so cha1n's going to just back off, take it, stabilize, and now we're still at a 0-0 situation. Interesting little fight there.
Yeah, and he also hit those rails after the pickup of the heavy for nosfa, meaning nosfa is on the ropes in terms of stack relative to cha1n, but not a huge amount because cha1n is rocket jumping around using the speed.
Both players completely on top of each other right there, but it's going to be nosfa getting that opening rail. Not that it really matters too much. Again, that Mega's in play. And cha1n using it as an opportunity to get out and get that damage first, and then we'll back off and heal up later. Now that's going to be important, shutting down these totems. Got to get rid of them. If nosfa even has an inch to get weak and run off, and there's even a light and a totem, he's in some ways able to fight if he's got armor. And cha1n doesn't want that.
Oof. Also doing a good job of surviving, but that's all he's doing at this point in time is surviving. He's not putting out any damage whatsoever. And cha1n, knowing he's very much in the ascendancy, doesn't want to overcommit for a frag.
Ooh.
Keen to forge a very clean opportunity, but that's better from nosfa.
Has to drop down one of those totems just to stop the bleeding a little bit. cha1n's in a better position for this heavy. The rail's going to miss its mark, which means that cha1n might be allowed to be a little bit aggressive here. We're talking about what kind of item he's going to take next. Again, he's in a better position to get this Mega. nosfa's been slippery, but as you quite rightly pointed out, his damage output's been quite low, and it's nothing that cha1n's had to really worry about just yet. Because cha1n's the one that's been in control this entire time. nosfa, he's just been forced to go into the sort of lower area. Both players hitting their rails, but it's nosfa who can't afford to take one more. Just off the back of that light, maybe he can, and now cha1n's in big trouble.
Really is, as we were saying, nosfa's not really done anything. He goes to hit 3 rails back to back. cha1n has to be very careful, but nosfa won't have a timing on this Mega. So we can take a position to try and force cha1n away.
Oh, he gets timing. It just in time. Really good push there from nosfa, actually. A good peace of mind to know that cha1n's likely to be down there. He was bang on the money. Wasn't any reward, though. A little bit of spam's going to keep him away from heavy, so it's going to allow both players to kind of trade off an item. I take one, you take one. cha1n spamming out a little bit of tri-bolt, just in case there's a totem there, I imagine. Oh, good shot. Okay, that's one. Needs a lot more than that, though. Ah, it's not really a worthy trade. 45 on the tri-bolt versus a rail taken, no armor. There is a light nearby, though. Both players haven't been able to commit just yet. The one opportunity nosfa had to commit, and there was a dire orb used near Mega to get cha1n out of there. Ooh. Okay, this is an opportunity for nosfa. He's going to use it. Try and take it with both hands, as the stack far superior for nosfa right here. The orb wasn't quite able to I think, misdirects. He's been able to get a light from it, but even by taking this one light, he's had no choice but to give up everything else. And nosfa goes to the rail for the shutdown. 4.5 minutes in, and nosfa gets that first frag of the map, and he keeps a chunky stack to boot.
Yep, and staying alive comes back to pay dividends as nosfa takes the 1-0 lead. Could quite have easily have got frustrated and overcommitted or overexposed himself.
Really nice rocket to open things up, but nosfa getting the mega all the same. He's the cha1n. He's got to get out of there. Oh, rockets. Good read there from nosfa. Knows that cha1n haven't got a rail. He's probably going to try and take one, and he's going to be correct. Good rail to start. He's going to push in. No totem for you. Galena's hands were still up. Oh my. Oh my.
But that's how quickly it can turn around.
Now the question is, what does cha1n have to back up on? He's got the mega, which is great.
I mean, cha1n should put more effort now on controlling the rail. He's seen how powerful nosfa is with that weapon, and Galena's not a champion that has any real way to get up there. So, ouch! You can play a good control game on this weapon, which he's trying to do, trying to trap it over there.
He's got to be careful, though. Oh, LG nosfa! You said he's got to trap him. I think he did just that, and he finishes it with a rail. Nice sequence from cha1n. nosfa, I think, a bit too, eager to go in for that rail. Right as he goes in, cha1n with the perfect shutdown. Guaranteed string of LG. And now with heavy about to spawn, cha1n's in a more healthy for it. He's going to take some rockets in the meantime. Has to watch out. I mean, these missed rails will come back to haunt him. nosfa shuts him down with a starting machine gun.
Okay.
Oh, gets a good spawn, but doesn't quite get the rail. And he's railable. 82 health. nosfa chasing it down. One extra rocket for good measure. It's the nosfa that we know.
Oh, I'm sure cha1n will be a little bit frustrated at this point in time, because I bet he thought he was playing so careful and so well for the first few minutes, and then all of a sudden nosfa just decides to turn it on.
It's a good time to do it as well, with us having 3 minutes left on the clock for this first map. cha1n absolutely went into this one the favorite to win, and this first map going to nosfa would be an incredible way to start things. His rail has just been such a miracle weapon.
52% at the moment, 6 impressives. It is impressive in itself. And 2.5 minutes remaining. No need to rush anything. It could be a game where next frag wins it. And nosfa's really happy playing these long-range games. This is what he wants to be doing. Nice switch there. But he's had much, much better control of the positions up on the high ground than cha1n.
Brings the trap, and cha1n runs right into it. No escape. One single tick of LG is all he needs. And now nosfa's in charge. cha1n, I mean, he's got nothing. He has absolutely nothing to fight that. That's why nosfa's looking to maybe put some of the pressure on. Starting weapons, why do I have to care about that? The LG is the only weapon he really has. Here comes the push.
Oh, so risky from nosfa.
Very brave push! Almost too brave and too much confidence. Jumping into an LG. You had to hit every single shot, and he missed the rail as well. That's a heartbreaker, and nosfa may be thinking, why did I do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Why did you do that? After playing so carefully for 8.5 minutes, you then go and make a foolhardy push for a light armor.
Now, unfortunately, this is a terrible position to get caught in. You just need to hope that he misses these shots with 8 health. All he has to do is just look in your general direction. However, he has been able to bring himself back up with these totems. Very fortunate for nosfa that cha1n wasn't able to secure that one. Oh, nice slip.
1 minute warning.
nosfa's consistently hit that rail every single time cha1n's picked up the mega.
Well, nosfa has been able to really, really bring things back at the very least. Now, with these rockets to start things, that's definitely not the best way to start an engagement, as cha1n gets 76 damage just like that. But he's in a good position for this Mega, as he's now taken it. Perfect timing as well. Very likely that we're going to go into a sudden death at this rate. Not that it really matters, because I think, you know, one frag's going to do it with the time that we've got left. Here comes cha1n to push in. He takes a rail, but he doesn't care. He has to be able to repay the damage. Misses the shot. No way. He's going to teleport there. nosfa gets the rail. He hits the shot. He hits the shot. And nosfa, with the confidence.
Wow.
Both players are going to show each other their fair respect, and quite the map-winning rail, that one.
That was an incredible shot. Wow. I don't know what to say. That was some performance from nosfa. Slightly disappointed from cha1n, in all honesty. Felt a little bit sloppy, considering how refined we've seen his plays in previous weeks, but all credit for nosfa. Like, he hit every single shot he needed to hit from start to finish. And with 140 ping, he was hitting the absolute clutches of clutch shots.
It would have been quite tragic for nosfa to lose the map on that one missed rail. Like, obviously, the missed rail was not what caused him to lose that frag that kind of started that string of unfortunate events. It was the jumping down on the LG that obviously caused that. But yeah, up until having to hit that rail and missing it would have been like just poetic that he hits everything, but the one he doesn't is. Yeah. Okay, game's over. But yeah, just great for nosfa, because a map-ending mistake, a lot of people would think, why? You know, why would you go down there? And I'm sure he himself was asking himself the same question. It's very important for him that he was able to, I think, really get back up and take the map after that, and with the clutch fashion. You know, that's how you shake off a mistake right there.
No, I completely agree. nosfa showed a great temperament, and we were saying at the start how hit and miss he can be. Well, that really disproves everything we said. He was incredibly stable.
Yeah.
And it was a lesson for some of the more experienced players out there.
So we're now loading into our next map almost immediately. Vale of Nath, cha1n versus Kiel. Kiel is absolutely one of his strongest maps, and it's so hard to challenge sometimes. We can have the utility of that turret from cha1n. He already plays a strong Galena in general, and I think having another champion with that kind of, you know, the mind of just dropping something down, that extra element. I do like watching players that can kind of rock both champions at this level. And on a map like Vale, you know, that turret, it's information, it's shut down, it's really tight, narrow 2v1s where sometimes you can choose, do I want to rail this player or do I want to rail this turret? And you have to make a choice, and either one's probably going to result in some kind of damage. I believe we had a bit of a timeout though from nosfa, so he's going to go for a quick restart. Looks like we have to load back into the map. But yeah, this map alone, what do we think?
I said before that I was a little bit hesitant about the picks from start to finish, but again, if nosfa continues to play like that, then... Sorry, I thought my game was crashing as well. I don't see any reason why you can't take it. Obviously, it'll be harder to do it against a Kiel because you have to hit more rails successively to make that count. And if cha1n gets a good grip of the map, which is slightly easier on Vale than it is on a Blood Covenant, he can really ramp up the pressure. So I'm still gonna side with cha1n just off of that facts. Plus, he's got a really, really cool Kiel skin.
That's the important one at the end. The visuals, everything, all about the cosmetics.
I agree, man. There's some really cool skins in this game.
You can make it. Actually, yeah. I'm a bit of a sucker for just trying to really make my champions look good, or characters in any game. So even though they're all just red, everyone is red.
I always like to stick with the original, you know, because as soon as everyone gets all the premium skins, the originals are the ones that aren't in use, you know. So I'm still rocking those.
You want to give them their time of day. You got to make sure that everything gets its equal time in the sun.
Except my
good guys
Ranger kind of looks homeless, but
looks like we are actually loading in now. Thank you very much for sticking with us, but yeah, we're good to go now. I'll be checking out things from nosfa's point of view first. cha1n with the Kiel. I mean, you got to be very careful challenging a Kiel at close range. Just the rocket room, anywhere where he's close range to you. It's a dangerous champion for that crazy damage output. nosfa is quite rightly so having to show it quite a lot of respect at the moment. This is a scary position, but the nails all over the place. Somehow nosfa survived that. I mean, wow. Okay.
But yeah, as a kill, you can just pick up a weapon and run back at your opponent. You have so much stack to work with. And that's exactly what he does. You can just run at nosfa now.
Oh, some close range. Watch out for the grenade! Didn't manage to go off, so nosfa's going to live to fight another day for 7 HP's worth. He needs information.
Risk it though, yeah.
Yeah, he needs information more than anything. And now cha1n is using that uncertainty from nosfa to just control the entire map, as he's pretty much soaked up everything.
Smart from cha1n, as you rightly say, control the map, take away the lights, delay the armor, split them.
Oh, looks for the rail. Doesn't quite hit the shot. Had the right idea, though. nosfa was, in fact, down that corridor, but as we now drop down.
You also get more efficiency from major items with the heavy champion, which means you can overextend to deal more damage, knowing you can fall back and soak up more of that stack. So there's just small things like that really add up in these type of matchups, particularly on a combat-heavy map like Vale. But nosfa's doing a great job at the minute by sticking to this back room, but Keel's found him.
A lot of grenades to try and shut down where you're going to go. nosfa, tricky situation. Minimal damage being dealt on the rockets, but the LG is looking even better. And quite rightly so, as it's 2-1 now for cha1n. Secures that frag. Gives himself a little bit of an edge to take this one over. Gets the Mega as well. And, I mean, the nature of these heavy champions, he's got a fat stack. And that rail to open. I mean, this should be another frag by all means.
What we were fearful of when we talked about the picks in this matchup. Like, what, as an cha1n, do you have at your disposal to stop this?
And this largest stack. Okay, a turret that's doing all that damage, I guess, with a super shotgun combined.
All right.
Ooh, the close range rail. Got to be very careful with that one. nosfa has taken a bunch of damage, though. And yes, that's why cha1n is opting to push himself onwards. It is the nature of these large champions. Even if you go down in a fight, you can still do the maths and calculate how weak your opponent might be. The shotgun's not enough. cha1n gets it again.
I'll rephrase. What, as an cha1n, do you have at your disposal to stop this Keel that's being careful?
Well, I mean, at the very least, nosfa is able to just fight fire with fire in these fights. He's doing it. Whoa!
Oh,
okay.
What?
Okay, that's one. We're gonna go check out cha1n a little bit more now, off that one.
But also as a kill, you just have that, I guess, failsafe to take more risks.
I like that choice from cha1n actually to leave the heavy up initially. Because he left the heavy up and then took the light. Obviously then tried to get some angles. He's conceded the heavy at this point, but he still has way, way more armor. Nice little safe advantage. Good timing to actually go through this teleporter. It's going to be quite tricky for nosfa to get this. He is kind of all right, but without armor. He's got to be really careful. These missed rails. 3 misses in a row, and that is disaster for cha1n. He finally hits, almost like adding insult to injury, that he finally hits 100 rocket right as he dies.
Yeah, I mean, cha1n's execution this series, in reality, so far has been pretty average. Nevertheless, he still does have a lead. And set up for the Mega.
nosfa's having to be pretty surgical with these rails. Hang on a minute. He forced him away. He hit enough to force cha1n on the retreat there. That's a situation I'm surprised he survived.
This is some absolutely clutch play from nosfa. He just hits.
On the turret! Let's go!
Every rail he needs to hit, he seems to hit. Insane.
nosfa.
5-minute warning.
There is this level of clutch that he is bringing today that we have not seen in some time. Like, he is absolutely punishing this. Like, yeah, cha1n may be missing a bunch of shots, and I don't think he's really playing at his absolute best. It looks pretty clear to me that that is the case, but that's not going to be nosfa's problem. He is playing incredibly well. It's two extremes. nosfa is in a perfect position where he is playing out of his mind, and he is punishing cha1n super hard for not bringing that AAA game. And nosfa is on form today. Can he get it? Looks like cha1n's going to get a little bit more of that LG damage in that fight. 6-6. Always interesting to see who's going to be able to do something about this 6-6 situation. cha1n, as expected, on a much bigger stack, and that's why nosfa's showing it so much respect. You have to get those initial rails. You can't afford a close-range fight against a Keel with this much stack, this much grenades, and this much rockets. I mean,
always really, really interesting to watch nosfa because of his ping. He's had to forge a game, play, and a style to work around it, and his answer to that more often than not is railing. And this is a map that is exceptionally hard to play a rail game on, and you can see how he's doing it. He's just standing right at the back of that rail room, always on the outskirts of the map, using audio cues to make sure he's always got the maximum distance from his opponent.
The danger is now is that cha1n's going to be able to chase this one down. He's going towards rail room. The surprise attack that nosfa just does not have the health or armor to fight back. Almost looked a little bit like that teleport towards center point might have taken nosfa by surprise a little bit. Default starting weapons. I mean, he's done a good amount of damage, but it's not going to be enough. cha1n steals away pretty much a free frag at that point. And just like that, cha1n's in the lead. He's got a light armor to fall back on. Yeah, delay with the heavy. This is a good opportunity for cha1n right here.
And I guess that kind of exemplifies the issue of playing a rail-only playstyle, is that as soon as you miss a single rail, you give up the whole map and you might be dead. So it's a clutch playstyle, and when it works, it looks fantastic. So nosfa now needs to regroup. He's still got time to get back into it, but cha1n has now got a much better grasp of the map than he did for the first 5 minutes. And it's looking pretty pessimistic for nosfa at this point in time.
He's trying to push his way in, but doesn't have the stack. Consistently getting outstacked here. Hit fresh off the spawn, going towards a rail on the spawn, which I think cha1n quite rightly made the correct call out on. He knows that nosfa's game is built around rails, so if he spawns down there, hold a rail angle, wait for him to take it.
Absolutely.
And from this position, things are going to get even trickier. Does get some damage, but it's not really damage that nosfa can do anything about because he himself is so weak. Even at this stage, good rail. If he gets one of those, he's all right. But even then, even if he gets a frag here on cha1n, look at how weak nosfa is. cha1n is going to spawn with a fresh stack. Oh, he has the rail angle prepared. Oh, dear. Definitely think it's slipped away from him at this point. Likely to be a map win for cha1n. Not much you can do. 6 frags in about minute 10. I don't really think it's that possible, even on Veil. cha1n's going to quite rightly disengage here. No interest in taking this. nosfa's going to push. Takes a direct, though. 100 damage. And now cha1n is going to spawn with a... I mean, look, he's outstacked him on spawn.
Yeah, and it is too little too late anyway in terms of pure timing. It was a good showing from nosfa. Like, there were some absolutely amazing rails in there, and I still don't know how he hits. It just wasn't enough.
Quite a few of them were clutch too.
cha1n, though.
That's the point, is that quite a few of these rails were like really, really major ones to hit. Just wasn't enough to bring him through this map. cha1n, once he was able to just bully him across pretty much everywhere. Oh, nice 200. 2 shots for 200. Yeah, love to see it. 15 seconds. This is a done deal. It's going to be a 1-1 now. Going into our final map to find out who's going to make this 2-1 result. I mean, by all means, it should be cha1n if we're going on results, but nosfa has looked pretty damn good today. I think we can all agree on that one.
You lose.
cha1n's going to get the second map. But now, as I've said, 1-1. Going into our final map now.
I think nosfa could take a lot of credit for that. It could have been a lot worse. What we saw in the last couple of minutes was what I expected for the whole map. But the amount of damage nosfa managed to pull out is quite incredible. You can see how much more control cha1n had, particularly on the Mega, 15 Megas to 2. So really admirable to keep the scoreline as close as it was when he was very much on the back foot.
So our final matchup, Molten Fools. Sorlag versus Strog. So that's going to be a game of mobility. But I mean, if we're going by picks alone, cha1n's the one rocking the Sorlag, and it's going to be nosfa with the crouch slide. nosfa, I mean, he loves those high octane fast champions and always has done. But I don't know, if I were to put you on the spot, I know you'd predicted a 3-0 to cha1n, but off what we've seen throughout the course of this series, do you think maybe your mind has a chance to have been changed here? Do you still think that cha1n has the opportunity to really get it together and come back harder in this final map? I mean, I personally do, because cha1n is just... I almost feel like that map might be somewhat of a wake-up call for him, but I don't know. We'll see.
I definitely still going to side with cha1n. I think I've got more respect for nosfa. Not that I didn't have respect for him before, but you know what I mean? Like, the way he's played today was definitely a new side for nosfa. I think sometimes he can be a bit erratic, but it's just, both maps so far he's been extremely calculated. It's really nice to see a truly distinctive play style that's built around his strengths in the rail. Molten is a map that definitely lends to a rail playstyle. You can also avoid it if you want to. So we'll see how cha1n adjusts to that, and that'll be one of the defining factors for me. I don't think cha1n, for whatever reason, has looked entirely comfortable today. Not as stable as he usually is. His aim's a little bit off. But I think he's just been rattled by nosfa more than anything else. So I'm still going to side with cha1n, but I think it'll be close.
Almost looks a little bit like that first map somewhat took him by surprise or something similar. Just how well nosfa played that first map and the rails he hit over and over and over again. I don't really think a lot of people were kind of prepared for that level of, I think, just surgical accuracy. Because, if you know what opponents you've got every single week, you look at the matchups, you can prepare accordingly, you can, watch any match VODs you need to. Now, a lot of players, I know they do VOD review and stuff like that. So it's fair to assume that because nosfa hasn't been really bringing his A game recently, you wouldn't expect that kind of accuracy out of him so early on when you start the series. Yeah. But now, going into our final map, a bit more respect being shown. The warm-up is coming to a close, so it's going to be Molten Falls, the final map between nosfa and cha1n. We'll see who's going to get the 2-1. I mean, cha1n's still the favorite, but nosfa, he could totally take this if he plays well enough.
100%. Obviously, there is the factor of Sorlag having that critical mass in terms of stack, but Strong and Pika is also very chunky, so it's not a huge problem. But the speed is also there for Sorlag. She's quick.
This is that very classic start that we see time and time again. Patience and respect. Listening for any information you can. Both players getting whatever resources they can before that inevitable first exchange. nosfa hasn't got a rail yet, though. And he is having to be very careful on the way. He's just been able to listen out for that heavy being taken. cha1n actually camping out. I mean, I think he's probably aware that nosfa likely doesn't have a rail yet, and that's why he's kind of looking towards it just in case.
Yeah, it feels like cha1n's been very proactive in protecting this rail, but it doesn't matter when nosfa pops up and hits those rockets.
I'm pretty sure that was 4 rockets into 400 damage right there. Watching things from nosfa's POV. I'm pretty certain that was 4 directs. Absolutely ridiculous way to start the map.
Knows cha1n wants this rail, but cha1n knows it's being camped.
It's like, how long are you prepared to sit there and prevent it? As now the Mega's about to spawn, and nosfa's in the better position for that. Well, I think he's wise to the fact that cha1n's probably going to try and trade them off. Just trying to get a little bit of that spam, I think, just for information more than anything. If cha1n just so happened to use the teleporter at that point, you're kind of going into this next fight with a bit more information than you had before.
Yeah, good calculation from cha1n there to maneuver the map accordingly.
I like this patience from nosfa. No, we're not seeing this kind of traditional Strog game yet, where Strog flies around this map and bullies his way around, kind of strong arm these rail angles in. Going up against someone like cha1n, who kind of has that fast mobility too, and then you combine the fact that there's a big stack there, you just have to be really careful. And nosfa, much more content taking these rails. His rail has been, without question, his star weapon this entire series, and this is a map where you can really put it to good use. Controlling this Mega the entire time. There really hasn't been any challenge towards Mega yet. He sees him. Oh, looks for the rail shot. So close, but so far. cha1n gets the heavy uncontested, and they continue to trade them off for now. More rails coming out for nosfa. He's just hitting tons of damage, and cha1n teleports himself into another free shot.
And this is what I said. nosfa is playing the rail game exceptionally well. 77% rail to cha1n's 25%. nosfa doesn't want to take any engagements. He just wants to keep chipping away his opponent. And at the moment, cha1n hasn't got an answer.
And the fact that he's hitting so much more rails than cha1n at the same time means the stacks are not even comparable at this point. There is going to be that ace in the hole with the acid spit. cha1n is going to pop it early to try and really keep that side of the map belonging to him. The worst thing he could do is give up too much of the map control. The one thing he's had going for him is that this heavy has pretty much been his property for 4 minutes. And now at last, he's lost it. Yeah, he pushes out that one time. Not able to really outspeed Strong. Another missed rail, though. That one shot alone would have been better than nothing to just stop this crazy burst of stack that nosfa's currently working with. But nosfa, I mean, he's patient. He's playing it carefully. He has the timing in his head. Another shot's not going to hit its mark, but cha1n has the acid spit. Looks like only one piece of the acid actually hit the floor, though. I think the rest of it hit the upper hand, the upper platform.
And it feels like nosfa's consistently getting the upper hand in his engagements, and whilst cha1n isn't getting any items, any rail he's taking, he has to do 2 in return. So he is definitely losing out in that type of battle, but at the same time, nosfa isn't picking up any sort of advantage in terms of frags. So cha1n has stabilized.
That's why cha1n, I think, is being so careful here. He has been able to somewhat shut down the use of that Mega. Looks like there was a rocket jump from cha1n, I think, immediately taking some of that self-damage. But the way nosfa's playing this game, he's playing for the 1 frag so far. By all means, if he can secure another frag, I'm sure he's going for it. And he's not got the objective of a 1 frag win. But there is, always the chance that that one shot that you miss or that one fight that goes in the favor of cha1n, and that's it. We're even. And then who knows what the spawn's going to have. That rail, though, looking so good. Even more damage to boot, and now cha1n has to run. He has to somehow try and get away here.
nosfa knows how low he is. He's going to chase.
Oh, he misses the shot.
A clutch shot.
cha1n has quite a few lights to retreat to. He tried to, best case scenario, just steal away the heavy, and no! Loses the frag and concedes the heavy. nosfa in a very good position right now. Looks for another rail, and he's going to hit its mark. cha1n, is there really much for cha1n to retreat to? He's not got a rail. He's not rail side.
Yeah, he's out of position massively here. nosfa's just protecting the rail, doesn't even want the Mega. He knows what his opponent needs, and he hasn't got the balls to push for the Mega because he's got no stack.
He's only got one rocket too. That was the last rocket he fired, and it was to try and get some damage around the corner. nosfa
really well played by nosfa there, holding that angle for so long. His opponent does now have a rail. It is so much damage.
This will be quite the result for nosfa.
Out this light armor as well. cha1n's not going to fall for it as he plays around the heavy area.
2 different objectives, I think. nosfa expecting cha1n to be a bit more aggressive than he currently is, as cha1n is erring on the side of extreme caution near heavy at the moment. 2 frags is always possible, but then the longer we start to go here with 3 minutes, 3 frags with the way nosfa is playing will definitely become a much more difficult story. But he catches him jumping down. Can he capitalize? And he can! Right as nosfa jumps down, cha1n secures a frag. But
first mistake from nosfa, and it's going to cost him 2 frags.
And there was so much doubt on nosfa's side actually trying to hit that rail mid-fight to the point where he didn't even fire a single shot.
And now cha1n's got timing on both items. They've got a huge split, and this is going to be a really, really painful minute for nosfa as he tries to restrict cha1n from increasing his lead anymore.
think I cursed it right as I was talking about how much of an important victory this would be for nosfa, if anything, just to get that confidence, to pump himself up. Right as I say that, here we are. Oh no, full speed ahead, and cha1n has no reason to shy away from the push with a stack like that. And I am fearful for nosfa now. He has a rocket, gets some opening damage, really tries to hit a kind of sick mid-air, but he can't hit it, and now he's so weak. 60 HP. And it's going to be a difficult 2 minutes here for nosfa, as he has to try so hard to just get this stack down, but cha1n is keeping him away from the rail. The rail has been nosfa's absolute star weapon, and cha1n is keeping him from it. Can't even get it, loses a frag, and now he's 2 frags behind. Once again, he's going to spawn far away from the rail, so he can't go and pick it up. And cha1n continues to bully. He pushes him away. nosfa does get one. Okay, good timing. A minute and a half.
Yeah, a bit of overconfidence from cha1n there, as he's now only got a rail to work with, but nosfa realizes that another frag will be his doom for this game. So playing careful, which is the right call. Isn't in any sort of position to challenge for the heavy, though. That's painful. He needs weapons, he needs armor, and he needs time, but he doesn't have the latter just yet, and cha1n could end it here. That's a good game.
By all means, that's likely to be the game there. nosfa has to spend time getting his resources back. He has a rail, but the downside of the rail on this map, depending on where you want to go, is that you're not super close to any other major weapon that you can use to just immediately delete someone. You can go back and get the LG, but then cha1n's miles away, and then you have to chase him.
And nosfa's done a huge amount more damage than cha1n. And obviously the most amount of damage has come through that rail. And in all honesty, cha1n just didn't know how to cope with someone that was hitting as much as nosfa was. When you revert to that pretty standard playstyle of playing around items, close combat, we see where cha1n shines. But he just didn't have an answer for when nosfa was playing this rail-heavy game.
nosfa's going to try and chase this one down to get one more frag, but cha1n's positioning makes it insanely difficult. The GG's come out up until the last moment. It's going to be a victory for cha1n, but by all means, he had to fight tooth and nail for that one. That was a hard set for him.
It was hard, and I think cha1n needs to sigh a huge sigh of relief, because he got let off there. One mistake from nosfa dropping onto that mega when he didn't need to. He could have just stayed up top, dealt some damage, or even run away and hit some rails, anything except of what he did, and it could have been an entirely different result. Full credit to cha1n. I think he had the best of all the picks, and credit for him for doing that. He played his style, he played consistent. He didn't play as good as he usually did, but he did enough to win.
But that's what it comes down to. If you're not playing on your absolute A game, there needs to be other things that you can do well. In that case, cha1n, really, in Molten Falls, I think it was patience. It was this idea of all it takes is that one swing of momentum. And even though, look, half this map is gone with a 5-minute mark, nosfa's still a dominant 2-0 up. He's got more stack, he's got more control, he's hitting more rails than me. All it takes is that one moment where you can turn things around. With that, little work you have to do to really make it an even situation, which, 2 frags, not that bad. And cha1n stuck true to that, because it's like I said, it was off the back of that mistake for nosfa to drop down there. But that was the opening. And that one opening just started everything else. There was that super fast frag to return. The 2-2 took place in less than a minute afterwards. And I mean, from that point, cha1n kept the stack. cha1n continued to just strong arm himself, and then was able to start using his stack and speed to his advantage, and ultimately getting that win at the last second. I think nosfa, he's going to be, really disappointed, because he was so close to getting that win, and a victory against cha1n would have been very important for him personally. I think that would I think definitely have been a win that he could feel incredibly good about. It's a shame that he just fell short so last minute, I guess, but overall, he still really showed us that he stepped up today.
Yeah, like I said, I was hugely impressed with nosfa, and just shows he will be an immense powerhouse come the time we move back to land. So I hope he keeps developing. I know it's tough in circumstances to showcase a different play style, a more rounded play style. He has to build it around his rail. That's what's most effective for him. And it'll be interesting to see, as we said, when we get back to more even playing field of what he has to offer in the other departments, because he's got some real talent.
Okay. I think it's about time we move into our next matchup and start the second half of the night. And it's going to be one of our heavy hitters, 100%. It's going to be Avec. It's going to be Cooler. We're going to go for a break and set things up. This is Week 8, Stage 4, Quake Pro League. Be right back.